I am in the investment stage of my life. Like, I want more kids. I always tell women, like, want it all and do it all. Don't let anyone put you in a box.
On today's episode, we're excited to share our first interview with Sara Wild. She's a CRNA, and she still practices as CRNA and also has started a successful aesthetics business.
This episode was a ton of fun. We actually had to split it into 2 episodes because we had so much information in it. The first episode is going to talk about her nursing career, going to CRNA school, and then building a business in med spa. She talks a lot about the importance of family, developing a good work-life balance, while still doing all these things and enjoying a fulfilling career.
I definitely liked how she talked about, staying true to yourself, embracing the lessons and learning from past mistakes. Wherever you are on your journey, I think this will be a huge value to you, and hope you enjoy.
Tell us how you even landed in the nursing field in general. Did you have a family of nurses, or how did that work?
I have a couple people in my family that are, in the medical world, but honestly, I just growing up in such a big family, we were pretty poor. I think my dad grossed $30,000 a year with 11 kids. So we were very, very, we were happy. We didn't care, but I just remember going to college. I understood the need for, you had to make if you want to spend, kind of a thing. So I was like, okay, well, what can I realistically do that would have a decent income? And I said, well, so I kind of started looking into nursing, and then my school I went to had an accelerated program to where I could get through my nursing program in 12 months. So I did like an accelerated nursing program. So I didn't even know about anesthesia when I started nursing school. And I'm kind of a little bit of a morbid person. So I do well with sickness and blood and all that stuff. So
you had never heard of CRNAs when you started nursing school?
I didn't know. And I hadn't even, I love my story of when I saw CRNA, I was in one of my clinical rotations. It was like this smaller hospital where it was small enough that they would let the students do a lot, right? Usually the bigger organizations are kind of hands off. So it was smaller hospital, but I was in the ICU. I'll never forget, I discovered crepitus for the first time in an ICU patient. Oh, this is so cool. I know it's horrible and gross. And then I remember they called a code blue on the unit. And of course, me being I was I got to go be a part of the code blue. I want to see it. I want to do it all. And I go running over there. And I remember and I'll never forget, the CRNA came walking in with their big, stupid gowns. And she came in, central line, intubated the patient, and just essentially was the boss. And I was like, ooh, who's that? And they told me, I remember saying I'm going to be that. That was the coolest, just to be so hands-on. You got to do everything. You got to, do the central line, do the arterial line. And I was like, that I like the more invasive, the better, for the nursing route. So I just remember that's really what piqued my interest. And it was super invasive, super hands-on. So.
And it was from that point, what do I have to do to be a CRNA? Or was it kind of a gradual process?
Right away. I went home. I told my husband, I'm going to be a CRNA. I just got to figure out how to get there. So again, the resources I don't think I found one. That's why I love the social media, because social media kind of just you should be able to reach out and just chat with people, hey, you have any, any advice? What do I need to do? So what I tell people that were at that stage nursing school, first step, you got to get in the ICU. Don't even worry about all the other stuff. First thing you do, get in the ICU. Ignore all of your nursing teachers that tell you have to do med surg first. That's the biggest load. And they all tell you that. It's how many patients can you push meds on? Okay, this has got old. So if I actually, to be fair though, I couldn't get into the ICU right away.
Yeah, I think that's one of my favorite things about anesthesia is you think about one thing at a time.
Yeah.
Sometimes you're doing a lot of things at once, but really you can only do one thing at a time, and you just got to do it.
Yep. So that was my goal, just get right in.
So you started on ICU then?
So that's a little not true. I started 2 months after. I worked on the med search for 2 months because I could not get anywhere to give me an interview. But I did. So I got an interview right when I was starting med search because I was broke. I was like, okay, I got to work until I get into the ICU. And then I got an interview. And then so I technically did work med surg for like 2 months, but it was like enough to do orientation and leave.
Did they know that was your plan? Was to leave in 2 months?
You don't tell anybody your plan.
That's right.
Of course, yeah.
No, definitely, especially when you're in the ICU planning to apply to anesthesia school, never tell people your plan. Never goes.
So you're doing ICU before you even knew about CRNA. So that you were drawn to that already, just the more critical patients.
No, so I was in the ICU in nursing school. That's when I saw the CRNA that I was drawn to.
So it was early on.
Yeah. So I was in my nursing clinicals in nursing school.
Gotcha.
And I saw the CRNA, and that's when I was like, oh, I'm going to be a CRNA. So then that's why I started trying, like when I was getting close to applying to places, I tried to find an ICU to go right into.
When you realized how much work was going to be involved to become a CRNA, did that scare you at all? Or you're just like, I don't care, I'm doing this?
No, I'm a very calculated person. So, and I was at that stage too for a lot of young females. I mean, don't get me wrong. My social media is so cheesy. There's a lot of like working moms, it's cheesy, but also like you have to understand too, like at the point that I was at in nursing school, as women, we just have this weird pull like, well, when are we going to have kids? If I know I want to have a kid, but I don't know when. Society tells me this, but then, family tells you this, and everyone has an opinion on when you can. And once you get to a certain age, you're geriatric. So that's always playing in the back of your mind as a female too. So then when I was going to nursing school, so I remember sitting down with my husband. My husband's like so supportive. He's like, you can do whatever you want. I'm super supportive. But I'm like, here's the reality though. If I go to anesthesia school, I'm probably not going to have kids for X amount of years. Are we okay with that? You still have to plan out a little bit. That was the biggest decision for me, was like, am I okay with waiting? Because all my friends were having kids, and it was kind of like this weird. So I think that honestly was like not that I felt like I wanted to have them now. I was like, oh, am I okay with this? Because I'm a planner. If I just say I'm not going to have kids, I'm not going to do it, kind of thing. So that was the biggest commitment to me, like going 3 to 4 years, not even considering having kids at that point. But the hard work, I don't know about you for your anesthesia program, but I don't think anyone could have truly prepared me for how like mentally hard it was going to be. I got hazed a lot, like I got physically assaulted by a female doc of all, and I got a lot of just like mental effing around with your mind too, I felt like. So that was the hardest. That's what I tell people is like your mental stability. You have to have good structure, because it gets to everyone at some point. Like one of my classmates got admitted to the suicide ward. And to be fair, my program is very cutthroat. You get a C, you're out of the program. There's no remediation. There's no retaking a class. There's no, like, it was very old school. And that's usually people's biggest complaint about my program. But also they had like an incredibly good board pass rate. But their attrition rate, I think, was 39% for my class.
Wow. What's more important, your attrition rate or your board first-time pass rate?
Right. That was kind of my point. I was like, I'm a hard worker. I can work and I know I can pass. Yeah. But I feel bad for, one of the chicks legit, like she failed out in her 4th semester.
Wow.
That's a lot of money. That's a lot of stress. And most other programs would find. So anyways, I think I tell people just like really be prepared.
Yeah. Yeah. It was, for me, of course it's challenging. And so it's a lot of work, but for me, it was more of just, like you said, the mindset shift. Instead of working 12-hour shifts, now I'm just studying 12 hours a day. So it's not different. It's just, it's not impossible. It's just way different.
It's the time commitment. It's like,
yeah,
it consumes your time. Now the last year is definitely way easier. The last year, then it just becomes like a full-time job, right? Like an 80-hour worked week.
Yeah.
But the first year, it's like a mind like, wow, this is a lot of time.
Did you find just having the issues with, like you said, you were hazed? Was that kind of a theme in your nursing as well? Or was it just like once you started in the CRNA thing, you were starting to get treated a certain way?
No, nursing, not so much. Nursing was... A couple of the teachers, like you always have those teachers in nursing school who just like, they can't do, so they teach. Well, I had a couple of those that just like drove me nuts. And you are dumb. Like, you're just wrong. Of course, I wouldn't say that. So I dealt with more of that in nursing school. I'd be like, you're really teaching, like, you don't know any of this stuff. But no, anesthesia school, it was more, they wanted to put the fire under your feet and push you to the point of breaking. And I understand that point because you don't understand, like, so for instance, like I just had a patient that went induction, push propofol, and their heart stops. The reality is anesthesia is stressful at times. Like you get to a point and you have to go into literally like blackout mode, use your protocols. You know what to do. Nothing gets to you. You don't get stressed. You're ice cold. Like that's what you have to be to do anesthesia. Do it well and be good. I understand that point of putting students in really stressful scenarios to see if they're appropriate. Some people would take it too far. And that's where it got hazing. Where like, we would have this one doc who literally like right before induction would like take all our airway equipment and throw it on the ground and push the propofol and just kind of stand back in the corner and watch like that kind of, and I'm just like, well, now you're just putting the patient at risk because I suck at this. You're going to make me manage this by myself. That's stupid. Like, I hope the family doesn't know, like, you guys do this kind of crap.
Yeah, oh my goodness. I guess there's some of that in every area, but that's pretty risky. Right?
That's a little bit over the top, I would definitely say.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, maybe with the test dummies or whatever, but yeah, with an actual patient, that's a bit much.
Oh, yeah. Yeah. And I had one, so I remember I was new. It's probably my second month in clinicals, and I was an integrated program. So I started clinicals 2 months into school. So when I say like I knew nothing, like we knew nothing, which I love integrated programs because by your second year, you're good.
Right.
But like we were always clearly, we told them where we were at and everything. And this, so I go, it was probably like my third or fourth airway where I was like learning to intubate. And so I'm like, and I just remember like, go slow. And I always verbalized everything I was doing. I'm like, going to lift the head. I'm going to put the blade in. I'm going to do this. That way, like everyone watching would like not freak out at me.
Yeah.
And I remember I did it and the doc must have thought I was just like moved the head too suddenly. She didn't say anything when I did it. And I got the airway. And as soon as I got the airway, the doctor grabbed my head and shoved my head on the table and was like, how does that feel? And just started yelling at me.
Oh my goodness.
And the whole OR just like, there were like 8 people in there. The whole OR just froze. And I literally was just shocked. And I'm like being pinned down to the patient's table by this doctor. And then she was like, how does that feel? And then just walks out. I was like,
oh my goodness.
I'm going to go on a limb here and say that probably wasn't appropriate.
How do people get away with that? Is a question I've always had.
Well, and again, it's a little bit on me because I was definitely manipulated. Like I'm under this situation of like intense, I don't know what to do. I'm just a student. So literally like I got called into like, it was HCA, it's a level 1 trauma center in Tampa Bay, huge hospital. We had like 50 students a day. I remember they called me into the CEO of the hospital. That should have been like a sign for me that like they're concerned about this. But again, I was just so like, I don't want anyone to know my name. I want to be under the radar. I was one of those students. I was like, don't want anyone to, I know like if I say things, then it'll cause some problems.
Yeah.
But I'm like, at the same time, you can't do this. So I just we came to an agreement that physician would not be allowed to be with students and she would not be allowed. That was my request because they just don't want me to press charges. Yeah. And I said, well, fair enough. I said, I won't press charges, but you cannot let that physician be with any more students. Like it's not appropriate. She has a temper problem. She literally put her hand. Hindsight, I probably should have reported it, but
yeah. Wow. Did you know how much financial stress it would put on your family when you started CRNA school?
So at the time, my husband was a teacher. So he was a teacher. So his income was very minimal. And we kind of did our budget and knew like I grew up poor. So I am very much one of those. It's like, I love shopping and I love doing all the things, but I know how to live simply. I know how to live within my means. So at the time we just lived super simply and I did get student loans, but I got student loans only to pay for school. And we used his income to pay for everything else. And we just lived super simply. I think student loans are appropriate if it fits within the means of what you're going to make. You know, and I don't have like a percentage for you or I don't have like if you can easily pay it off in a year if you need to, you can, you know?
Yeah.
That's my point of view. Some people get really caught up on student loans. And I'm like, if you're going to be a teacher and make 50 grand a year, don't take out 100 grand of student loans.
Right.
But if you're going to be a CRNA and make anywhere from 200 to 400,000 a year, you can take out 100,000 and pay it off easily if you need to, you know, kind of one of those things.
Yeah.
So I guess, how did you get into aesthetics, but how long were you in the hospital and how did you hear about aesthetics?
So I've been practicing now for about 3 years. One of my girlfriends, nurse practitioner, worked in a derm office, started doing like Botox, got certified and did like Botox on the side, like Botox parties kind of a thing. Super low key. We stayed at their house for the weekend. She's like, Sara, let me do your Botox. And I was like, I've never had Botox. I really never really cared to it. Like, it's just not something I've been into.
Yeah.
And she did it. And I was like, wow, that's amazing. My forehead is smooth now. You know, I just didn't ever care about too much. And then once I got into it, I'm like, I love this. This is super cool. But I also loved like the pharmacology behind it and the physiology and the patho. And it was like, this is really neat. Like, you can manipulate your facial muscles and, you know, kind of all that stuff. So then I thought about it for a while and I started just reading more up on it and social media and stuff. And then I finally I was like, well, I'm always for a little side hustle, side gig. I honestly, so my grand idea initially was I love ketamine clinics. I don't know if you guys have done much research on ketamine clinics.
A little bit.
Yeah, it's super cool. I've got a CRNA buddy who I kind of met in the industry and he's got like 6 or 7 clinics. It's a really great business model, but also like you get to really help some people that are in a really dark time of life. But it's like it's like a very much of like an entrepreneurial, like a great route to look if you're looking to start a business, start a clinic. So I started in that route and I just talked to him a lot about it. And he kind of told me, he's like, you know, he's like, if you want to do it, you have to be at a place in life where you can put in 100-hour weeks and just really, really grind. He goes, and then you can hire people to take over for you, but you have to put in that time to start. And I was just like, you know what? I don't think I'm at a stage of life. Like, it's really important to me to be very present in my kid's life. I've got 2 littles, a 3 and a 1-year-old. And both me and my husband, we prioritize our kids and we both make career sacrifices so we can be present. And I was just like, it's not the right time. But then I was like, well, aesthetics might be something I can do on the side and I can do remote and do concierge. So that's what I did. So I got my license, got certified, and started doing concierge Botox, where you could have me come to your house, give you Botox, throw Botox parties. I would come inject and make a little cash on the side. But honestly, I did it more because I just enjoy it. And then I finally got to a place where like, I love this so much. I want to make this a permanent option to where if I wanted to, I could do less anesthesia, more in my spa, create my own time schedule. I'll still always do anesthesia. I love anesthesia, but
yeah.
So that's where I'm at.
What does the certification process look like for aesthetics?
Honestly, you just go to training. So that's when you get to where it's like the wild, wild west. There really is actually no legal. It's weird because, okay, so first of all, different states different. Nurses can inject in a lot of states. I think California is super, super strict.
Probably.
But there are like some states nurses can't inject, but a lot of states nurses can inject. But I think all states nurse practitioners can inject and CRNAs can inject. But the laws are different as far as like some states you can be your own medical director. State of Indiana, I actually have an MD medical director that's just has to like look at 10% of my charts, but he's not physical present. He's just a part of he's my medical director. I forget where I was going with that though.
For the certification?
Yeah, what it takes to get certified.
Oh, for the certification. Well, you literally I went to a training where I got a certificate for my basic training. And then I've started going to like getting advanced training for like lip filler, cheek filler, I care a lot about training and I care a lot about being good. So I will not do something if I don't feel like 100% I'm going to do better than someone else will do. And I feel like that's a little bit where it comes like my CRNA training. I tell people, I say, I'm good with needles. I do a lot of regional. I'm very confident in my skill work. I've paid a lot of money for also doing a lot of training because I want to be very good. I want to learn from the best and then say like, hey, I've done this, and this training, put it together with my skill work. I know I can do an incredible job for you. So, but anyone can do it. Like you could technically, if you could get a medical director to sign off for you, you could start injecting and not knowing anything.
So all of your training is you just wanting to be the best. Any old person that has some sort of nursing or medical degree can just go start putting medicine in people's faces.
So that's why I say it's kind of the wild, wild west. You don't have to do it the right way. But any injector would tell you, go to a training, go to an advanced training, they would tell you to do all this, because at the end of the day, you start injecting people and you don't know what you're doing, people will learn very quickly not to go to you.
What would you tell somebody who's looking for somebody to do some facial injections? Like what are some questions that you should ask these people to make sure they know what they're doing?
See their work, talk to them. A training's a good thing. I always tell people CRNAs are the best injectors because we use needles every single day. But there are some incredible nurse injectors, nurse practitioners as well. I mean, I'm still new in the industry. So I feel like some really experienced injectors would be like, find someone with experience. And I don't disagree with that. But I'm like, I'm newer and I'm pretty confident. I've done some really good work and my clients are all really happy with me. So, but I think experience and then also training, like making sure, and then just conservative, like if someone wants to come at you and do all this crazy stuff, it's a red flag too. You also want to find someone that's going to do what you want rather than like kind of push their ideas on you.
When you were saying like people coming at you wanting to do all these things, I guess the opposite of that, like as a practitioner, when somebody comes in and they're requesting like all kinds of crazy stuff, like, do you just kind of say like, no, that's not a good idea? Do you redirect them? And like, I guess also, have you ever like just lit somebody's face up? Like, what's the most injections you've done in like one patient at once?
Yeah, you can find people who will do anything to you.
Yeah.
I am very much, so I'm in a small town. I very much advertise like natural, let me help you age gracefully, nothing like over the top. You go to LA, they will put 3 syringes in your lips. Usually those people though are going straight to plastic surgery and doing like surgery. But the most I've done for people is just like, I love, you have your standard Botox injections and then your standard filler. I am a huge fan of like under eye and cheek filler. And 99% of the people that get that, you would never know they have it. A lot of women, as we get older, like our fat pads kind of just sink down and we get that under eye, kind of like that dark under eye. So getting filler up in here and then kind of just raising it a little bit by putting some filler in your cheekbone, your mid-face area, just gives women a nice little lift, but it's very natural. And then also for lips, that's a big thing. We do a whole face. I do a whole face consulting. So if you want your lips done, so I come in and I say, okay, this is what your face looks like. I'll take pictures. Then I take a side profile and I will say, you have a line where your nose meets your chin and then your lips, there's a certain ratio we want it to be. Before I'm going to treat your lips, I'm going to say, we really need to give you a little chin structure, or we really need to give you some cheek structure, because you don't want duck lips. You don't want it to look so artificially fake that, but there are a lot of women that could really benefit. Yeah, I am. If you do, go talk to someone else, because that's not my fault.
Come on out to LA.
Yeah, go on. Yeah. Oh gosh, it's like, what's that show? Botched.
Oh yeah,
is it Botched?
Yeah.
I think, yeah. That's. But I feel like I always equate, and I'm also I'm in like a very conservative world, and I would consider myself, for the more conservative than not. But I'm also like in a conservative world that kind of goes on to like, oh, any kind of like cosmetic thing you do is very vain, and I'm like, well, first of all, we all get to choose, but I get it, like not doing anything like crazy, but I always equate like cosmetics to braces. I'm like, why do people get to get braces and retainers and Invisalign and not be called superficial and vain? Like, you are just wanting to look pretty. You are just wanting to have a nice smile. You're just wanting to be aesthetically pleasing. You want to age gracefully. You want to be able to like your picture. You want to, like there are things about, people with a snaggle tooth, they don't like their picture. I would like that straight. So I kind of equated that to like the kind of stuff that I want to do. I want to make you look natural and beautiful. I just will help you get rid of some of those wrinkles, or maybe give you a little more bone structure or jaw, lift up your face a little bit. Like it, without doing a facelift kind of stuff.
Now there's different types of medicines that you can inject, right? Does it depend on where it is, or how does that, what are the differences there?
You have Botox. So it is an actual neurotoxin that paralyzes your muscle. It's a bad word to use, but essentially it makes it from your muscle not being able to contract super well. Essentially, so you can't just move your muscles as well. So I actually just went to a lecture this past weekend from like a really renowned plastic surgeon, Dr. Sadat, and he actually hates Botox because he's like, you guys are wanting to look so young. He's like, but look at a toddler. They don't have any wrinkles, but they are still moving all their muscles, So he said, essentially, you're paralyzing all your muscles to where you can't move. That doesn't look natural. You should be able to still have some movement. So it's like finding that balance with Botox where you like slow down those muscles, but you're not completely freezing them to where you still have like appropriate movement and I can give expression and not look just frozen.
Is that why people get like stiff lips and stuff? Is because the muscle's just been paralyzed too many times?
I don't know about your lips. We don't do a ton of Botox. I mean, we do some. That's probably just because they're so full of filler.
Okay.
Is filler different from Botox?
Yes. So Botox it's used very small doses and it's just you would look at it's like a liquid that in a TB syringe we use. It literally absorbs into your muscle, your skin, and it paralyzes your skin, slows down your skin, your muscle. Filler is an actual substance that lies underneath your skin and it stays there. And then it slowly goes away. It lasts much longer, 6 months to a year, sometimes a little longer. You'll immediately see results. If I put filler underneath your cheeks, you will see it come up right away because you are essentially putting a substance. It's like a jelly-like, and there's a bunch of different fillers. So there's some that are really like a gummy, some that are real smushy, like it's all different textures based on where you're putting it. But yeah, it's the substance that like goes underneath your skin to give it structure. It's like fat. Like think of what a fat would look like underneath your skin. It's essentially that's what it's trying to be.
Okay. Do you do any injections for like migraines or anything like that? Because I know that's kind of something I learned about a few years ago.
Yep. So we'll do migraines. We'll do like stress. We'll do back here for your traps. We'll do like TMJ. I mean, if you think about it, like it literally just relaxes those muscles. So TMJ is a huge one for women. Like you see the structure, like women that have like really square like jaws because they've just clenched so much. So that muscle has just gotten bigger and bigger and bigger. So with Botox, you actually make it to where you can't. And then that essentially that muscle like dystrophies, it breaks down a little bit, which you want. Like you want that when you have TMJ, but migraines as well. Yep.
Okay.
Same idea.
All right. And so you said you started off like more of a concierge. So you'd like go to people's houses and inject them. So how did that morph into you wanting to open up your own, one-stop shop?
It's just nicer to have my own space. I can do more. I wouldn't do fillers out at people's house. I'd have them come to me. They'd have to come to like a little space I was doing out of my house. And then you can just offer more stability. And then also just a schedule. And we're also in between. I'm building a home right now. So we are staying in like a teeny tiny little space. I have no room to have people come to me. So I'm like, I would just like to have a space. And I think I could start a business doing that. And then I plan to also like hire on other people to come offer services in here. So it's like, I can add more, I can offer more. Small town, there's like nothing. There's very little to compete with as well. And weight loss. Weight loss is going to be another huge thing that I offer.
Yeah.
The semaglutide. Have you heard of Ozempic? That's like taken over the world for weight loss. So semaglutide is a compounded version that you do not have to be diagnosed as a diabetic to get. So it's purely for weight loss. So we'll offer that as well, which will be a big one around here. I'm in Indiana.
Yes. Tons of customers.
Did you always have like an entrepreneurial mindset? And did you always kind of see yourself going down that path as far as like branching out and doing your own business, like even before you started nursing? Or is that something that just kind of happened?
I think a lot of it's kind of ingrained in me a little bit. Like I come from a family, like I'm trying to think, like I think 8 out of 11 of us all have started their own business, work for themselves, and do very well, or at least are like contractor, we like to make our own decisions. I mean, having said that, I actually love the anesthesia group I work for. And I want to work with them forever. Like they're just the almost amazing people. So I don't mind working for people. I remember, do you guys know who Jordan Peterson is? I love Jordan Peterson.
Yep.
And he talks a lot about just not only financial freedom, but freedom in making decisions and speaking how you want. Mm-hmm. He goes, when you work for other people, you are obligated to their standards in life. You're obligated to their point of view, and they kind of have power over you. He goes, if you're okay with that, then it's okay. He goes, but just with the way our world, and I think COVID was a big push for that. Like, back when like nurses were having to be told like, get the injection or lose your livelihood, lose your job. And not that like a lot of people were super pro the vaccine, but then some people for whatever reason wanted to have the option not to, but they were literally told you have no option. There is no alternative, whether or not it was a good reason or not. That was his point of view. Like, if you don't want to be a slave to what other people tell you have to do, make it to where you don't have to work for yourself. And that was kind of a little bit of motivation. Not that I was super pro for the vaccine. I worked in the hospital. I was not against it, but I did understand that point of view a little bit. I was like, what if I didn't want to,
Mm-hmm.
and then I would have lost my job. I would have been forced out of it, and I like people being able to have their choice to do stuff. So that was kind of a little bit of a motivation. I remember telling my husband, I said, I need to be able to say whatever I want. I don't want to get fired for saying what I think, Yeah. So that kind of pushed me a little bit too. I said, I would love to be able to have, and I just like it. I love a good challenge. I'm always learning, pushing, growing, trying to find something new. So, and this is lots of different reasons. There's nothing wrong with not, I think it's just, I do think it's a lot of how your mind works, how you work as a person.
Yeah. And where do you see your business growing in the next few years? Like, are you doing a ton of marketing? I know you mentioned you're in a small town. Is it just word of mouth, or how are people finding you?
So I have as much as work as I can handle. Let's put it that way. I'm in the investment stage of my life. Like, I want more kids. I always tell women, like, want it all and do it all. Don't let anyone put you in a box. So like literally right now, I work full-time as an anesthesia provider. I've designed our home build by myself. Like, I've designed it. I do have a general contractors managing it, but like I'm making every single decision. That is like so time consuming. Starting a business, have 2 little kids, and I take like parenting very seriously. Like, we invest a lot in our kids' training, their health. So it's just like, I have just like checklist after checklist after checklist. Like, I'm the world's most like, I get it from my mom. We use like sticky notes galore. But it's like, I am in the investment stage of my life. And like, I can't tell you the last time I watched a TV show, or I can't tell you the last time. And sometimes I miss that. Me and my husband, we took like a week and went to Mexico. It was like our first time away in a long time. And I was like, oh, let's watch a movie. I can't remember the last time I watched a movie. This is so, it's fun, but I view my life as like, I'm in an investment stage. Any downtime I have, I want to be with my husband. I want to be with my kids. I want to be on the lake surfing. I want to have fun with my friends. Otherwise, I'm hustling hard. I'm working hard. I'm making a plan. So as far as my business, I plan to do really well with this. I plan to set up my business model really well. I plan to make sure I've got this running and it's very profitable, but I absolutely plan to hire more people to do different services here. But it's also a small town, and I'm not naive enough to know that like a small town spa will make me millions. Like, it will do well, and I plan to get it profitable, but I 1,000% plan to franchise and have multiple locations. I haven't created my exact timeline, but that is definitely the long-term plan to do more.
How much does it cost to get one of these injections?
Depends. Okay, so Botox is anywhere. LA, I can't imagine what they charge on LA. LA is like $50 for a gallon of milk. It's like, how do you survive out there? No. I just go and milk a cow and I got some milk. I'm good. We got all the resources we need here.
Yeah.
I charge anywhere from like $10 to $12 a unit. Typically, you're going to get, if you're treating like the upper face, which is like the women's favorite, especially if you're new to Botox, you're going to get these 3 places. This is 1, that's 2, that's 3. You'll spend $500 for Botox. And that's just for your 3 area, your basic areas. It adds on quick, like I remember my trainer. Because I really am a cheapskate. I'm a numbers girl. And I'm like, I'm very like budget conscious. And so I remember with the girl that I was training, people come in and like, she'd be like, I think we need like a syringe here. And she wasn't pushing anything. She was absolutely giving like a good, proper assessment. But then it'd be like thousands of dollars later. And the girls would be like, okay, yep, let's do it. And I'm just like, oh, really? Like, you want to do, like, women will go spend a lot of money. And it is my goal. Like, I also don't want to push that on women, my clients especially. I'm like, put it into your budget. Let's create a plan for the next year or two and then decide how much you can spend now and save up and spend then. Because I always say, like, my biggest thing for people is like, just because you have the money doesn't mean you should spend it, right? But I think it's okay to spend it if you like, you know, if it's something that you really want to invest in. So I got to find a way to strike a good balance of not pushing product on women, but also saying like, hey, it's okay not to get everything done today. You know, it's okay to go slowly, you know?
So if you do have a client that's gotten some fillers and some injections or whatever, do they have to keep coming back after that? Like a re-up every once in a while, yearly, or what does that look like?
Yeah. So Botox typically lasts 3 to 6 months. The label says up to 6 months, but realistically, so many things increases the metabolism of your Botox. Like if you work out, so some people get really high doses and that'll cause it to last longer. Filler, it's like they say 6 to 12 months, but usually if you really care, you'll get it done once a year, maybe.
Okay.
So filler is more expensive. A syringe of filler, you're going to pay at least $600 per syringe. And if you're getting cheeks, mid-face, then you'll get a couple syringes. So it's a hefty investment, but you're not getting it done as often too.
In terms of like the setup for your office and everything, is this like, did you need a lot of equipment? Was that a pretty big undertaking up front to start the office?
Not at all. So I'm very like, my method has been like low overhead and offer services. You go into some med spas, man, they've got some cool equipment. You know, you can go get your fat frozen off. Cool sculpting is like the coolest thing ever. Lasers, like these laser machines you can do to like make your skin just flawless, but like they're also like 60 grand for the machine. So I'm not offering any services that cost me crazy. I would love to offer laser hair removal. I am going to save up to purchase that machine. Like I'm not going to offer that service until I can afford to offer it. So I'm very much offering just your Botox filler, weight loss. I also have a couple other services like I'll carry a skin line and then also microneedling. I'll do like a medical grade microneedling. The microneedling pen cost me a few $1,000s. So that was definitely my biggest overhead as far as equipment. But I felt like it's a really good service. So your typical esthetician won't be able to offer it. So I felt like it was a good service to offer, especially in an area for people that want to like do something nice, but maybe aren't ready to do filler.
And is the medicine cost, is that a pretty substantial cost that you have to bring in all these different types of medicines that you're using for injections?
Not too much. Like, so the cost of Botox and filler is always changing. The profit's not the greatest for Botox and filler, but like a bottle of Botox costs me about $7 a unit, $6.40, and I charge about $11 a unit. So my profit's not huge. Filler, there's so many different types of filler. Like, so the profit margins are different on each.
Okay.
Your biggest profit margins are going to definitely be like on services that it's like specialized services. So like your cool sculpting with big machines and your lasers, they're not going to have hardly any overhead besides the initial cost of the machine. And you can charge like thousands of dollars for each service.
Okay. How many units do you put into different areas like lips or forehead or whatever? How many units does it usually take?
Okay, so lips we do syringes is the filler. Depends. Like a lot of like my girls, I tell them, I said, if you've never had lip filler before, like half a syringe is not a lot. But some women just like, they're not for sure how much they love it. And this is typically how it goes. I would be really conservative. I only want to do half a syringe. No problem. Like I'm all for that. I'm all for doing less and then adding more later, right? Typically what goes, they do half a syringe in their upper lip and then a half a syringe in their lower lips, you know, just to give it a lot of it's like very hydrating and plumping rather than huge volumes. And if you look at some people's lips, as they get older, they get like sunken in. So like when they get filler, they don't even look big. They just look back to like the normal shape. So look at a half, but then usually next time they're like, okay, we're ready for the whole syringe. Like we're ready for just a little bit more, you know? So a syringe is a natural looking plump lip. A syringe is totally normal. Botox, Like around here, I typically do 8 to 12 units around the eye. Here I do around 20 units. And then here I do around 20 units, give or take. Just depends. I mean, and there's a bunch of other fun. A lot of people do lip flips. You'll get it here. If you have gummy smiles, you'll get it here. You can really do like jaw contouring with this and down the neck. So there's so many places you can do Botox. It's kind of fun.
Okay.
So they come in all timid, and the next thing they're just like throwing a Botox party at their house. What is that?
What I imagined when you said Botox party was like pin the tail on the donkey, but with like a Botox syringe.
Yeah, you guys probably have no idea what the heck I'm talking about. So I like literally, it's like get your friends together. A lot of times they'll do it together. Like I had one that was like Botox and bra fittings. There was like this specialized bra company that came in and do bra fittings. And another one was like Botox and brunch. She just had all of her girlfriends over, had a big brunch, and then you could get Botox if you wanted.
Yeah, just bring cash or what? What's that like?
Yeah, it's all cash pay anyways.
Yeah. I just picture like, because not knowing anything about that, I just picture like by the end of the party, people's like mimosas are running out of their mouths and stuff. But it's probably not that intense.
I tell people you probably wouldn't be able to pick out 90% of people that get Botox.
Yeah.
Botox is super natural looking. Now, some people do get super frozen, and that you can usually tell. You're like, are you smiling? Are you surprised? I can't quite tell. Okay.
I've seen that a lot.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah. We hope you enjoyed meeting Sara as much as we loved interviewing her. Part 2 will be about the legality of starting your own business and a deeper dive into Sara's entrepreneurial journey. Let us know your favorite part of Sara's story on Instagram at investingrn.co and be on the lookout for part 2 later this week.